You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Thursday night, the 17th of October. My name's Carl Hutchinson. You're listening to PSH Radio on the Parasearch Network. It's the Thursday night show. It's also the special shows on the run-up to Sage Paracon, as we are the official radio show for Sage Paracon this year. So we're going to have, on the run-up to Sage and at Sage, we're going to be talking to some of the amazing speakers and the guests and a lot of the Sage tribe. But tonight we have a special guest. Everybody at the Sage tribe who went to Sage Paracon last year will know this speaker very, very well. She's a beautiful character, a beautiful person, so I would like to welcome the lovely Karen to the show.
Hello, Carl. Hey, thanks for having me on your show this evening.
Totally my pleasure, and thank you for joining us.
You betcha.
So, yes, you're returning to Sage Paracon.
Woohoo! I am so excited to see, it's a tribe.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm a part of that. I was initiated, I think, into it last year, and I see what it's all about. And everybody is so lovely, and I can hardly wait to see everybody again and hang out and just do what we did last time and then do it 10 times more. What do you think, Carl?
Absolutely, yeah. Each year the Sage tribe grows and grows and grows. It becomes more of a family. And as MJ and myself always say, that it doesn't matter if you're there on your own. Within minutes of being in the building, the Sage tribe will basically just take you under their wing, and you'll forget about being on your own because you'll be surrounded by people, like-minded people, in an environment where you can enjoy, and you'll end up making friendships that last away from the paranormal, away from the Sage stuff, and it's a good experience. And the way MJ does the event and chooses the speakers, the venue, everything to do with Sage Paracon, she tailors it for the Sage tribe, new and old members. So it's going to be another amazing event. 4 days at the amazing Coombe Abbey, and as we said, you're returning. So what I'd just like to do, just for the listeners that didn't get a chance to see you last year, can you just give a quick overview of who you are, what you do, etc.?
Sure. Well, I do want to say one thing to what you just said. Mm-hmm. What he said is 100% absolutely true. I came by myself, really didn't know anybody, and then left with so many amazing friends that I'm still in touch with. In fact, I've even traveled with some of them after that and gotten to know them closer on a personal level. So it's a wonderful event. Come on out, you guys. I can't speak highly enough about it. It is by far my favorite event. I do a lot of great events around the country in the United States, but this is one. It was got to be my favorite boutique event, and it's just exquisite. So I wanted to say that. But yes, I was there last year. Didn't know anyone and met so many amazing friends. And what I do is I am a Ouija practitioner. Da, da, da.
If we had sound effects, there'd be a little thunderclap there.
So I make my own sound effects too. So, Carl, you know. And so we just had a blast. So, okay. So seriously, I work with the Ouija board. I've been using it for many, 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 many years. 46 years now, Carl. I've been using the board. It's crazy. I know.
I'm old enough to be doing it for 46 years.
Well, I started in utero and in my past life.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must have had some past lives before that, because there's no way you can be doing it 46 years in your current life.
Well, you're very sweet, but yes, it's true. I haven't used it that long. And so but see, my whole thing on the Ouija board, Carl, as you know, is it's a very positive tool. It can be used in a very positive way. And that is what I like to teach and speak about. So last year I focused on that, introduced my work to the audience, and shared, a lot of conversations with people about the board. But I mostly spoke about my experiences over the last, at that time was 45 years. So this year, what I'm going to do, because I like the theme of the voodoo theme, I'm going to get into some really cool Ouija superstitions. We call those Ouija-stitions.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that people think they must do when they use the board. Where did they start? Why do we have them? Are there ways around them, and how you can use the board with great success yourself? So I'm going at it with a different angle than I typically will, because I want people to really look at some of these things they're told they must do or can't do or have to do when they use the board. We're going to explore those more closely, and it'll be a fun presentation, but also serious on that note as well. So I'll be mostly talking about that this year at Sage Paracon.
Cool. Because one of the things that obviously I've been in the field for a fair few years, and one thing obviously when it came to Ouija boards, I know that they're just a communication tool, and I didn't know that basically you can create your own. And you showed that doing a demonstration and all various different ways of using the pointers or the planchettes, no matter which way you want to call them. And that was quite an amazing, because obviously I was central in the area that you guys were doing with Barry. Just listening to the way you describe how to put your energy into it and the responses that we were getting last year, I found very, very fascinating, because we had one session where we were getting responses, and then the session afterwards, they were the responses were linking back to the responses from the first session.
Oh yeah, we had some cool things going on. You're absolutely right about that, because you were in the room with us when we were doing that. That's right. Yeah, it was great. So for example, what he's talking about was that somebody sat down and got this message and names and dates and stuff, and then she just left the paper sitting there. She goes, "I don't know what this means. It means nothing to me." It was like rubbish. That's an English word, right? Rubbish. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. I'm starting to use your lingo.
Teaching you plenty more English expressions this year.
Oh, I can't wait. And so I'll read up on it and practice. When I come there, I can say my English expressions. And then, Carl, you've got to do your American expressions.
I've learned a few recently. I've just come back from Vegas.
Then you learned some debauched ones, I'm sure.
Yeah. There was quite colourful language being used by some American friends out there, and I had to take a couple of moments and say, "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" Because I was like, the way they were saying things meant a completely different in the UK. So there was a couple of moments like that, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun having the gang and everybody there, and the amazing guests. Some obviously like yourselves returning, some new speakers coming over. So it's going to be fun. But going back to.
Yeah, let's go back to that story. Yeah. Okay, so the lady left this paper there because she called it rubbish, and I didn't do anything with it. We just left it on the table. Somebody sat down before we even started the session and started reading it. She said, "What is this? Who wrote this?" She goes, "This is about my brother. This is about." She went on this whole story. It was about somebody in her family, and it was specific to her. So you guys, this is what's cool. So cool about spirit. Spirit is non-local. Messages could come from all different angles. It may not be for you, but for the person that may be in the room with you or come in later. And that's exactly what happened. This is not uncommon. This happens, I won't say all the time, but it does happen occasionally when I use the board, and it happens with other people, as we saw there. And so the lady got the message. She's like, "This is for me." And it had such meaning, for a deep felt meaning. And that was just a real cool experience to see that. Other experiences or experiments we did was on the bottom of the board. I think we had, let me see, it was a color, it was a location, and a month.
Yeah.
And they used the board to see if when they worked, whatever the partner they worked with, and using the energies of the board or the spirit or ideomotor, whatever effect was influencing it, to see if they could get what was on the bottom of the board, those three categories. And some people did. They were able to get 2 or 1, and some people got none. Yeah. But then we sat there and I taught people how to use the tool, which I will be doing again this year. I will be conducting one of the investigations using the board. So if you missed out last year, I will be there, and you'll be in my group, and I'll show you even how to use this tool, because I think that's half the battle. Yeah. And so we did that, and people had some great, whether they got movements or some words, it was just the fact it was working for them. And a lot of people can't even get it to work. So
yeah,
we got it to work.
Yeah, absolutely, and the way it was working was amazing. The fascinating thing about obviously that story you were just telling was when people come into the room for that particular investigation element of the investigation night, we don't tell them where to sit. They can sit wherever they like. So this lady who basically left a bit of paper with the answers on that she'd got, random seat, so left it there.
Yes.
Then the group that followed in, obviously, however, whether it's spirit or whether it was just meant to be, she sat right where that lady had sat, and then suddenly picked up the bit of paper and realised that the answers that were written on this bit of paper related to her and her brother.
Crazy.
And that's the thing. I was like, wow, that is because there was probably 100 seats in the room. It was a big room.
Yeah.
And she could have sat anywhere. But she sat right there with the bit of paper that was on the table. Like what they were doing was once they'd finished, they'd put all the bits of paper in a pile on the table, and then I'd move them into the next group. I'd bring the next group in. You'd do your stuff and everything like that. So she could have sat anywhere, but she sat right at that spot with that bit of paper there, and she picked it up to look at it, as most people did when they looked at the bits of thing. And all of a sudden, they didn't. And the two people that were the person that wrote the information and the person that read the information afterwards in two different groups didn't know each other. First stage Paracon didn't even know each other at that stage.
See, you guys, it's like, what's the guiding factor here? Is it the fact that we have this subconscious, like ESP or telepathic information within us, or is it the spirits guiding you? I mean, we don't really have the answers to this, but there was obviously a larger factor at play that evening when this happened, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
And to this day, both Carl and I still remember it, and I guarantee that lady who got the message and the one who gave it remember as well.
And I know that there were some people that I know quite well sitting around the lady in question, and they were just blown away because they just they were just like, how does that happen? And when we were explaining afterwards in various different conversations about it, because it sort of the buzz suddenly started going around afterwards when people were saying about this happened, that happened, what happened in the groups, and people were saying, well, that's amazing because literally, as we just said, she could have sat anywhere.
Yeah. Anywhere, you guys, and she happened to choose that seat. I don't know why. It was right up front too, right up front, dead center in front of me. And I'm like, maybe you don't want to sit there because I'm going to make you use the board. No, I'm not going to make you, but I'm going to be, interactive with you and help you. And she was just right there. Maybe she was eager, but I don't think she even came thinking she would get a message about this. But it was so meaningful and pertinent, and it was touching to her. That's the amazing thing. And just there's, Carl, I believe in synchronicity. I don't believe in just happenstance or fortuity or luck. It's like it was something brought her there to that space and time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Obviously, that was just a small part of last year.
Small part.
But this year, obviously, you're going to be talking, as you just explained, about the different Ouijaisms, as you call them, about the Ouija board. Because obviously the Ouija board can, in certain, as we were discussing in a previous interview with another guest, about how I call it the Hollywood effect. The paranormal can get twisted into a sort of a negative way, because obviously it's films, television, etc. But when it comes to the Ouija board, there's a lot of people. You can say, I can guarantee you get a group of 30 people and you say, have you ever used a Ouija board? And probably half of them will say, no, I don't use them. And that's exactly what happened last year, and I can guarantee that will happen again this year. But when you stand up and you explain about the history, you explain about how it works and the tool it is, the communication tool it is, more and more people that said, no, I'm not going to use it, ended up having an amazing time experiencing it. And I know some of them have actually now used that in their paranormal journey.
I love it. Yeah,
and I think that's the good. It's good when you get such a person who knows what they're talking about, that can put people's mind at rest about some of these Hollywood horror stories that happen. Like a friend of a friend used a Ouija board, where it burnt it reappeared, and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
Which is complete and utter nonsense, really. But then you get yourself talking about it in such an intelligent and such an informative way that these people then start realizing, yeah, okay, I am going to use it. It isn't what it is portrayed to be by the TV or the media, and it literally is a communication tool.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a negative tool. I mean, definitely if you want it to be. I mean, it's really about intentions. So yeah, Carl's right. I ask people to suspend their judgment of when they enter the room and what they had to think about this tool before. Although I want to hear what those Ouija-sticians are, or what those board rules are that they hold so dear, or what their feelings and beliefs are about it. That's important that we start there. And then I always ask you, I give a little information, as Carl said. I really try to understand what this device is all about, why it was created, who created it, what it was used for, and then where it kind of had its demise when it fell from the graces of the parlor room of yesteryear to, hidden in their basement or attic, or burnt, outside in the garbage can. So there's reasons for that. So I'm going to be getting into that during my talk, but I will also, during the investigations, definitely address a lot of this. So when you do sit down, and if you choose to use the board, I will help you have the best experiences you can, because I've been very successful at doing that for myself and for others for many, many years now, many years actually, as we talked about. And I teach a lot of people how to use this tool. Now, I do want to say this. I'm not there trying to tell people, convert you to using the Ouija board, because not every tool's for everybody. And I'm really all about, if this tool calls you, or you're just even curious to try it out since you've got me there to help you with it, I would love to do that with you. And if you want to just watch, that's cool too. I think it's important that you go with what you feel within yourself. And by the way, I like all the electronic devices, all the different meters and apparatus, but my favorite tool is old school. I go old school, Carl. I go back to the old planchette, man-made energy. I have to use it myself, my own energies, as opposed to, frequencies and energies of electronic device. So that's my tool. So, and I like dowsing rods, and I like I Ching, and I like oracles and tarot. I like all these different divination tools because they're age old, and I really like to understand their history and where they came from and how our ancestors used them. Where the newer tools are kind of like, okay, well, they just came out recently. They're cool. I'm not against them, but I'm kind of for that old sense of how did our ancestors do spirit communication?
And I think that's the key for this year's Sage Paracon, is the way MJ's put the guests together. The theme of each of the guests is going back, like you say, the old school technique.
Yay!
So we've got the spiritualist side, we've got paganism, we've got the voodoo, we've got Bloody Mary coming over, talking about the history and how that carries on in the field, that you can use it towards the paranormal. You've got yourself talking about the talking boards, because obviously Ouija is a brand name. Everybody thinks Ouija board, but that's a brand name, like in the UK, for the UK listeners, like Hoover, that's a brand name. It's a vacuum cleaner. So that's some of the you'll be going into. So we've got all these old school. We've got like a shamanism experiment of a person talking. We've got all these different old school type of things, which I think we have to go back to, because yes, all the modern day equipment is great and everything like that, but you've got to remember your roots, because if you don't remember your roots, the more and more people that will go on to the new one and forget how to use pendulums, dowsing rods, talking boards, etc. Eventually, if nobody then starts picking these skills back up, they're going to fall slowly away, unless people are going to know about them.
Right. And I think what happens is you remove yourself from the experience yourself. You have this electronic device between you. See, when you're doing the tools such as, let's just say, the pendulum and the Ouija board, I will tell you this, the board and the pendulum don't do it. It's ourselves. So we're really allowing the tool to become our permission to slip into these realms and do these communications. So that's why it's important to go old school and do, like you're going to learn from the shamanism and the paganism and all these different talks that are going to be happening, how they can do it. with your body, really, truthfully, where it all starts is your own body, your own constitution is the tool. So I think that's why it's important to have in your bag of tricks, your investigative bag, different tools you can use and to combine them. Yeah. So I really do like doing investigations, and I'm getting ready to do one in Missouri at this haunted location. They're flying myself and another person out to do this, and he's new school with all the tricks of the trade of the electronic tools, where I'm old school. And I even also use my body to measure the energy and frequencies and to feel it and to tell when something's cold or hot, or if I'm feeling some kind of presence. And so we're going to work together, and it's going to be really exciting because we've worked together in the past, but to bring both those things together. So I want people to think about that. I know a lot of you that come to these events are paranormal investigators. I met a lot of you last year, and you like to use these new tools. And what's cool, though, what's really cool about this conference that I like, Carl, too, is that you have a lot of people there that come from the UK who use the talking board. It was really beautiful to see that.
Oh, yeah, the amount of people that I've met over the Paracons, and the amount of people that all suddenly go, is it all right? I've brought my, like when you're breaking them down into the investigation teams for the investigation night. Oh, I've brought this, and they'll pull out their own board, and
yes,
we use it, and we encourage people to use whatever path you feel more comfortable with. So whether it's modern day equipment, obviously I'm a complete tech geek. I've got all the flashy lights and the bells and the whistles. But over the years, just from my own personal experiences, particularly like when I've been working with MJ, seeing you guys work last year, I've started to look at, like you say, I've bought my own Ouija board now, and I've sort of, yeah, I know, I've succumbed. But yeah, and mine's one of the it's one of the board game ones from, I think, the 60s.
Is it from the United States?
I don't know. I bought it, and it's the black box with looks like the Wii with the planchette, and it looks through to the board. Just a real black box.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you don't have it to show me, when you were there, I really want to see it, and it would be fun to sit down and use the board with you too, Carl.
Yeah. Because obviously I've got my sage hat on that particular one, making sure the groups are in the right place. I don't actually get much time doing.
No, you don't. It'd have to be afterwards or something, because I sat down with MJ afterwards, and one break I was able to sit down with Barry Johnson, and MJ and myself used the board really well together, and so did Barry Johnson and myself used it very well together too. Yeah. So that was cool. That was really cool. But yeah, show me your board. You guys also, if you're coming out, please bring your boards, because you can use your board when you come to my session of the paranormal investigation, and I'd love to see your board anyway, and we can take photos with it. I love boards, and we love taking photos with our boards. I'll probably bring a few boards myself. It's kind of hard to travel with them all, but I do have now, Carl, I keep getting new boards. I'm up to 45 boards in my personal collection. Wow. That's small compared to like Calvin Von Crush, who will be there, who's also from the Talking Board Historical Society. He has hundreds of boards. And our good friend Robert Murch, who I know you guys know. Yeah, he has over 1,000 boards. So my collection's small, but I'll tell you what, you only need one board. Only one board to talk to the spirits. So it doesn't matter how many boards you have. It's just, if you're into collecting them, it's fun because they're all, like as Carl mentioned, they're all so different. And I collect mostly Ouija boards, which are the traditional, different companies that made it in the United States. Yeah. And I have some Canadian Ouija boards too, by the way. Ouija was also made in the United States. Canada in the early 1890s as well. But I also do collect other kinds of talking boards or spirit boards. So I've added those to my collection as well.
No, it is fascinating to see the different, particularly the different types, because it's just mind blowing that you've got.
Oh yeah.
For just just to put it on a layman's term, just for the basic tool, the various different designs, the various different ways people produce the boards is fascinating, because over the years it hasn't really changed, but the way they design some of the designs on them is really fascinating.
It is, and you know what's really cool too. And I didn't know this until I got into it. So I was just using my board I got in 1973 from Santa Claus on December 25th. And it's a circa 1972 board. That's the year that board style is, but mine was from just 1973. But anyway, that board I used forever. I mean, talking forever until about, let me see, I think it's 10 or 12 years ago when I started really collecting boards. I really just needed one board. So I was always, just use that board all the time as my go-to board. It's a little smaller. And then when I started collecting boards, I started realizing, I thought, there's only got to be, maybe the Ouija board changed its look, a few times over the years. No, in fact, there was always the new circuit that came out. They might have changed how the moon looked in the corner and then made it into a sun and then gave it a face, or even the crescent moon and then it had a face on it. Just all these little things that change, and the different plants where they were made. Whether was it in Baltimore, was it in Salem? We're just talking Ouijas now. And which plant? They had like 30, 40 plants in these cities of each that manufacturing plants that made these boards, and how just the Ouija itself changed, and not just changing hands of ownership or companies, but how they came out with new renditions of it after so many years, and how the planchette changed. And I was like, what? I didn't know this was even real. I wasn't even paying attention to that. And then I realized, there's other people that are out there like me, who collect boards and see all these little subtle nuances and get into it. And we're like geeks with the boards. I mean, seriously. And it's so cool. And then because Ouija was so popular in the United States, early 1900s, there were all these companies that tried to compete with it, and they started their own names. You got Haskellite, got all these boards that came out in the 40s, and you've got the NOLA board. You've got boards that maybe just by competing companies, Espirito, or the Oriole, they tried to make a Ouija board and give it a new name, but they just couldn't compete. They just could not compete with Ouija. That's because William Fuld, when he took over the company, and it was at the helm of it, he really marketed that tool crazily and did a great job with it, also giving it its subtle nuances of changes, but also how he packaged it and marketed it. And just nobody could compete with that. That's what happened in the day.
Mm-hmm. So, because obviously tying it into it, and obviously your ties in with the Talking Board Association. Do you want to just quickly tell us, our listeners, because I think it's a fascinating story, how you actually got into that side of it and how it progressed? Because obviously recently, I've just on social media, anybody that follows Karen will see the world's largest Ouija board, which you had in Salem.
Yes,
which we'll come on to talk to in a bit, because that just blew me away. But yeah, how did you have the Talking Board Association Society? Sorry, how did that come about, and what is your role in that?
Great. Excellent. Yeah. So the Talking Board Historical Society started loosely in about 2008. When I say loosely, it wasn't a formal LLC. We're a nonprofit organization, but it was a group of collectors that came together. Robert Murch at the helm, with a few others, Gene Orlando, and Calvin Von Crusher is one of the founding members. You'll meet him at Sage Paracon this year. Fabulous, fun guy, very knowledgeable too. So they came together as collectors. The idea was that they were all competing and collecting these boards, and so why not keep your enemies as frenemies? Why not get them closer to you? They weren't really enemies. They became friends through this. Mm-hmm. So they got together, and the first thing they did together was raise money to put in a headstone for a plot for Elijah Bond. Now, Elijah Bond was the patent attorney way back in 1890 for the Ouija board, before it was even named. And he did not have a gravestone or a headstone. So they got the money, and that picture of that headstone, which is a small one, but it has a Ouija board on it. It says "Good night" on the bottom of it. It's one of the original boards. That one, like I said, went in about 2008, and it is viral over the internet. You'll find that everywhere. Just look up Ouija board headstone. That's how the group started. But in 2013, they actually officially decided, let's make this into a nonprofit organization, and our goal and our mission is to preserve and protect and share and educate all about the history of the talking board, mostly Ouija board, but also we do all talking boards. Mm-hmm. And so that had to go back to talking about when the first Ouija boards appeared in the scene. That was the mid 1800s, 1886 to be exact, and then really digging up the history. And so the group became a group of historians, researchers, artists, people who, I'm an author, and I also use the board, practitioners, people who are really into the board. And so that group started in 2013. I joined it more recently in the last couple of years, and they reached out to me. I was one of the first people to come in from the outside, not one of the original founders, because I bring the voice to it of being a practitioner. And plus I do write about the Ouija board. I've been doing it for many, many years. So that's about the time I came into it a few years ago. And since I entered into it, let me back up. When I first was introduced to this group was 2015. I was invited to speak at WouijaCon. And that's kind of when my affiliation with Robert Murch and that group really started, and getting to know a lot of the people in the group. And we just developed a friendship because of our love of the Ouija board and collecting and using them, et cetera. But then after that, a few years later, they invited me into the group, which of course I accepted. It's an honor. There's only 8 of us in this group. What we did more recently, when I came out last year, I was telling you guys about the Helen Peters stone. Yeah. Now, Helen Peters was one of the original founders of the Ouija board. It was several businessmen and her, the only lady, who got together. She owned stock in the company too. It's the Charles Kinnard Company, novelty company, that started the Ouija board. And she was a gifted psychic in herself who sat at the board with her hands on the planchette and was sitting there at the board when the planchette spelled out just to call it Ouija. She's also the one that went with Elijah Bond to the patent office, you guys. And the patent office did not want to give him a trademark or a patent on this tool. They thought it was stupid and nobody wanted their name assigned to it or associated with it. And finally, the head patent officer came out and he said, okay, look, I'll tell you what, you guys don't know me, but if you two here can spell out my name, I know who I am, through the spirits, through the board, I will grant you your patent. Well, the rest is history. They sat down and sure enough, it spelled out his name. And so that's how the story goes. So Helen Peters did not have a gravestone either. And she was buried in a huge family plot of 7 people. Only a few of them had their names on the stone. So we worked really hard with everybody's help. Every time you buy a t-shirt from us, you guys, and you guys bought a lot of t-shirts and boards from me last year, all of that money goes into these events we do, and it goes to pay for these things. And so we bought her the most incredible large stone for her and her family. Everybody's name. There's 7 names that are on this stone. It's huge. And it's made by the exact same company who made the first one for us, Elijah Bond stone. And the family came out. We did this huge ceremony last year in the fall, right before I came to the UK, in Denver. It's in the Fairmont Cemetery in Denver. If anybody's visiting, and those of you in the United States who are listening, you can go visit and see this stone, this gravestone. It's crazy. It's huge. It's got part of the Ouija symbols on it, the sun and the moon, and it talks about her and everybody's names on it. And her family, their family loves it. But she is now considered a famous woman buried there, and she's on their walking tour of famous women. So we really try to bring forth this history and educate the public in this case and let them know that somebody of this kind of caliber is buried there who really had the foresight to be with these men who developed the Ouija board. And so what Carl's talking about is just recently we had sponsors, you guys again helping us out, supporting through your donations as well as through buying our t-shirts and boards and stuff we sell. The money went towards doing the world's largest Ouija board, and it was born from the brain of Rigor Mortis Schreck, who's our VP of the Talking Board Historical Society, a very talented artist, very creative man, and he wanted to break the world's record for years, and he finally said, this is how I'm going to do it. Soul-handedly, he painted and created this giant board to scale, and Carl, it's to scale of the Ouija board that glows in the dark. That's his favorite board, 1998 board. So he made it to scale. Then he put a border around it of the people their logos of all those who sponsored us. And then a lot of the money that, again, we raise goes towards this, to ship it, to transport, to bring it there, to set it up. And we're always raising money for the next event we're going to do. But this just happened, you guys, in Salem Common, downtown historic Salem, Massachusetts. It was a great turnout. The board beat the world record. So now we are the world record holder. And the board is 77 feet long by 44 feet high. So 72 feet long by 44 feet high. I get the dimensions mixed up. It did beat it by quite a bit. And
the amazing thing I thought about it was the planchette, the hole in the planchette, you could get about 4 people in it.
Oh, more. You could probably put comfortably 5 or 6. That planchette itself, Carl, was 15 feet long.
I know, it was amazing. But anybody that's not seen it, just go and have a look on social media and have a look at the photos, because you couldn't pick a better, in my eyes, being that I've been to Salem, a better place to put a Ouija board.
We agree. They were receptive to it, and that's part of it. Not everybody. Ouija board's not for everybody, and some people freak out on it and all these things. And I'll be talking about that at the conference there. But we really had a great reception. But the worst part of it was, I'll just lay it out right here, was that we had to set up for 3 days, and it was in the middle of a rainstorm, a nor'easter we had going on there. It was terrible rain, but we pushed through it, and it was well worth it, because the day when we actually unveiled it, kind of cleared, the sky cleared for a moment. When Rick was speaking, there was a little bit of sun that came through, and I went, oh, heavenly moment. The gods were shutting down upon us because it was supposed to happen there, and Salem loved it. But it was only for a day. It was just for a day. But yeah, you guys, it's called Ouija-zilla, like Godzilla, because it's the king of the beast. It's the largest board, so it's a kind of a tongue-in-cheek play on words, but it is called Ouija-zilla. Look up Ouija-zilla anywhere, and you can see all about it, and there's pictures everywhere. It's going viral, and it's just really exciting. And I'll bring some photos with me too that'll be part of my presentation that I'll share with you guys.
And there was a few people there that obviously I know, because obviously Jeff Belanger came and saw at it. Nick Groff came and had a look at it. So you've got a lot of publicity, got a lot of social media hits from it, and it is amazing. Just go and have a look at it. It was incredible to look, particularly the sky shot you had of it. The board was just amazing.
Well, thank you. We're very proud of it. We're happy that we did break the world's record. We knew we were going to, but just the fact that it was actually measured and confirmed by Ripley's, will be in the Ripley's book next year, 2020. And I'm so happy, so excited for Rick Schreck. He's such a lovely person, and his family, they're fantastic people, and he definitely deserves this. So that recognition and the fact he wanted to share it with the Talking Board Historical Society, we're just very happy to be a part of that. So yeah, we always do really cool things. I always want to do another Ouija Con. Who knows? We'll probably do one in the future, but we always have something up our sleeve, so you never know what's going to come. We do.
And my board is a 1960 Williams Flood John Warrington UK board.
Oh, so it is a William Fold.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have it with you? Can I see it?
All I've got is this great radio, but that's...
yeah, I'm looking. Oh, yeah. That's the Blue Ghost book. I know exactly what you have. You're right. That's the Blue Ghost edition. Yes. Okay, thank you for showing it to me. See, right now we're on Skype, and I can see his image. He can't see me. I'm blocked, but I can see him.
Yeah.
And that's a lovely board. That would be a 50s or 60s. That's the large one, right? The 22-inch one?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, that's a 601 board, and I'll tell you what, that's probably one of my favorite boards now. I still love my little 73 board, but this board, you guys, is larger. If you watch my YouTube shows, you'll see myself inevitably pretty much every time with Rodney using that board, unless we're showing you a new board I have or something, because it has a lot of space on the edges so the planchette doesn't fall off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations on it. That's a lovely.
Well, it's quite a weird story. I was talking to one of my relatives, my auntie, because she lives the other end of the country from where I am. So we have like a couple of weeks catch up, and she always wants to know what I'm doing in the paranormal and this, that, and the other. And I was just talking about Ouija boards, etc., and stuff like that. And she said, "Well, did you know your auntie's got one in the loft?" And I went, "No," because my auntie basically just looks at me, and when I talk about the paranormal, like I've got two heads and green and everything like that. So she said, "I'll have a word," and then they found it in the loft, so they sent it down to me. So it has got a family link to me. So.
Oh my! Now, when did you get this, Carl?
About 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. Now tell me, what's the history on it? Does she use it?
She got it in the early 60s. We're talking the early 60s.
That's right. That's the year before.
And she doesn't really tell me an awful lot about it, but she bought it. My gran on my mother's side went with her to buy it and everything like that, and it came from a toy shop in Hartlepool.
Okay.
Came from a toy shop in Hartlepool, and it's been in there in my grand's loft. She's moved house a number of times, and it's still up there. They basically just put it in a box and pack it up, it was forgotten about until about when my auntie moved last year. They were clear because they moved to a smaller property. They were getting rid of a lot of the stuff in the loft, and they found it.
Oh,
and They just
man.
put it back in the loft. They kept it, and then obviously my cousin was talking to me, and what she related the stories, and I was like, oh, okay. She spoke to my aunt, and then next thing, I got a ticket saying the post had been to the local post office. Didn't know they were going to send it to me, and opened it, and that's basically what I had about 2 weeks ago. I haven't used it on an investigation yet, and but yeah, I have it. So I'll bring it up, and we can have some photos with it.
Listen, that's fate, Carl. That is fate. You were supposed to have it. It came to you. It's been in your family. That's a beautiful story. I love those stories when it's like your relative had it, and whether they used it or not, the fact they bought it. There was an interest in the spiritualist movement, or spiritualism, or spiritism, as you might call it over in Europe. So tell me, did she have good experiences using it, or did she not really use it?
To be truthful, I was looking at the state of the box.
Yeah.
The box is in, apart from probably where another box, something heavy's been put onto it, and one of the sides is slightly squashed. The box is immaculate. It still has the bit of protection that goes on top of it in the box. Man. The board does not look like it's ever been used, to be truthfully honest. It's still got the patina. It's still got the shine on it.
Oh man, keep it pristine. That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's rare, you guys, to find a board like that. You find them sometimes, but take good care of that. You've got quite a treat there. You really do.
Yeah, no, I was going to bring it up, and to this year, obviously couldn't know you were going to be there, but yeah, no, it's only in the literally it was just before I went to Vegas. So yeah, about 2 weeks ago, it turned up, and it's sat in my office with my equipment, so I'll be packing that, and I'll be bringing that up to Sage Paracon in a couple of weeks.
Fantastic. I look forward to seeing it. That's so cool. So you guys, you never know, boards can find you too. They find their way into your life. Yeah. I mean, that's how it works sometimes. Sometimes people, it's so neat. I've been very blessed. People know that I love the boards so much. They will make me surprise boards and surprise me with boards they make themselves, like one of a kind. I just received one again recently from an artist friend of mine, and all of a sudden I blew. She says, "I'm making your board." I'm like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" Sure enough, this beautiful board comes. It's called the Luna Spirit board, and I've showed it on my YouTube channel. But it's basically a board that's round, and it has a beautiful moon painted in the middle. This great like night sky, and then what happened was, talking about planchettes. You can use anything for a planchette, really, a lot of things, and I've talked about that, and I've shown that before, demonstrated it. But she had found, it happened in Tennessee where she lives, and she and a neighbor of hers, one morning they come out, and all these Luna moths, those big giant green Luna moths, had died. And they were just laying there. And they're like, "Oh my God, these beautiful things, what do we do with them?" So she had an idea to lay them inside of resin and make a planchette around them.
Wow.
And so I have this incredible resin planchette with a Luna moth in it, preserved. And that is the planchette for this Luna board. And it makes so much sense. It's beautiful.
Yeah, because that's obviously, like you say, it's the spiritual side. It's obviously got the nature side of it with the
sure
moth.
It does.
Yeah. That's fascinating. That is really fascinating. One thing, obviously, when it comes to the boards and stuff like that, the thing that obviously for me personally was, I just thought obviously it was just a talking board or Ouija board or whatever. But then I found out from friends of mine who were into the spiritualist side of it, there's like spirit boards as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's the kind of, 'cause just for the listeners, what's the difference between the two?
Okay, so spirit boards and talking boards are really synonymous. Spirit puts more of an element of the spiritual dimension, like spiritism or spiritualism. And people that will you say that typically they might call an angel board a spirit board. And the woman who made me this beautiful Luna board, she likes to call it a Luna spirit board. It is still a talking board, but it's not a Ouija board. Okay, so how it works is you mentioned earlier Hoover the vacuum cleaners, which of course we have as well. We might call every vacuum cleaner a Hoover, or in the United States we call all tissue Kleenex, because that's the main brand. I mean, that's the brand that dominated, Ouija dominated. So we tend to call all boards that have the alphabet and numbers on it, we will tend to call all of those Ouija boards, but really they're all truly talking boards. And again, it's synonymous with spirit boards. But I think people tend to like to say spirit boards. It sounds a little more personal, a little more spiritual. And it more beautiful way maybe than just saying, hey, talking board. Now, I tend to say talking boards because of the Talking Board Historical Society, but also because what the boards do. They talk. I mean, they spell, so they talk. So I will tend to use that terminology unless I'm really talking about specifically a Ouija board. Then I'll say Ouija board.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there really isn't too much of a difference of that other than what you like to call it. Now, what you have there, Carl, is a Ouija board.
Yes.
Now, if you want to call it a spirit board or a talking board or a spirit talking board, you can.
Okay, that's good. Obviously, we've got people in the chat room. Normally, I'd have my trusted accomplice with me, Sam, relating some of the questions. So I do apologise if anybody's posting any questions in the chat room. I'm trying to get onto it and I can't get onto it. So I do apologise if there's anybody out there that's asking any questions. And if Kerry's still listening, if she could just let me know if there is any questions in the chat room, because I can't get onto the chat room at the moment.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I know how that goes.
I do apologise. So you're obviously coming back. You're going to be talking, you've covered a little bit about what you're going to be talking. Apart from obviously you were at the Weedzilla board recently in Salem. What else have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. So this is so cool, you guys. And I'm really excited to tell you about this because I've been approached by one of your number one selling authors, New York Times bestselling author, not New York, Sunday Times bestselling author in your country, you guys. Her name's Teresa Chiang. Many of you probably know her. She writes a lot about the afterlife and dreams, and she's a prolific writer. She approached me and asked me to write a book with her. And it's called The Case for the Afterlife. I am the voice of Ouija. I will be talking about the talking board and Ouija boards in there, spirit boards, and some really interesting and new information that I have not shared before. And it is about the afterlife. And I will be talking about the animal communication and a perspective from the afterlife of messages I've received through various sessions and more information too. And she's more of the scientific voice of it with a lot of research and studies. And then we have Dr. Julie Bichelle, who does a lot of work in also the afterlife. And that book will come out actually 2 years away, but we're already working on it. I'm also writing a book about consciousness and how that consciousness works with the board, on and off the board, actually. That's a pretty far out there book. What I mean by that is I take some concepts that I started to touch on when I was with you guys last year. I try not to go too far out on a limb. This book is going to go way out on a limb and maybe you can jump off. I'm going to be sharing with you all the different levels of consciousness I've been in communication with over the years, which I haven't really been in the public so much talking about these things. There's a lot of research I've been doing, and I'm going to be sharing in that book. And so that one's expecting to come out in the next year, 2021. Okay. So we've got a book coming out in the next each year. 2020, and next year, the 2021. So I've got a book coming out the next one each year coming up. So I've been very busy with that, doing a lot of traveling, Carl. I've been going to a lot of events. Did Michigan Paracon this year, which was fantastic. I know your headliners at Sage Paracon. The Newkirks will be there. They were also at Michigan Paracon. That was a great time. But I've been doing a lot of talks and speaking and shows and presenting and investigations. It's just been It's been a fabulous year since the last time I saw you guys.
And it's only going to get better.
I agree. I can't even tell you guys how excited I am to come back.
I know there is so many people looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks in Coventry at Coombe Abbey for the Sage Paracon. We do have a couple of people who've just, thank you for listeners who've just started messaging me the questions. So
good.
MJ was the first one to message say, can you basically can you ask Karen, has she sorted out her karaoke song for Paragon yet?
That is a dangerous thing. Okay, MJ, I somehow got to avoid it last year. I maybe did a little backup. I'm more of a dancer, you know that. I like to dance. Yeah.
There are videos on social media of you dancing.
That's right. You've all seen me dance. Okay, so what happened was this. That's so funny. And big shout out to MJ, by the way. MJ, you're so awesome. Okay, so I think you probably got that message from Wes Coleman, who's a Canadian.
Yeah.
Who was attending, I know you guys all know Wes. He was attending Haunted America in Illinois. And I was there and I was like, nope. Not going to party, not going out, I was on just every day, and I was teaching a big workshop, and I was talking, and it's like, nope. So finally the last night, they said, come on down to the bar, we're going to do karaoke. I go, nope. Well, he gave me a couple vodka tonics. The next thing you know, I'm up there singing and dancing, and I'm doing. I can't remember who I sang, but I did the music and I did it. I danced to it. It's just out of control. So I don't know, MJ. It may just happen. We'll have to see.
Well, MJ's actually just followed up it saying, sadly, there's no avoiding this year.
Okay, be ready. Okay, now listen. MJ can sing, you guys. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to forewarn you. I cannot sing, but I can entertain like there's no tomorrow. So, okay, if you can handle that, MJ, then you know.
She's already responded by saying yes in capitals, covering about 4 pages on my phone. So yeah, that's pretty good. But yes, as you said, you can entertain, and I think that is one of the loveliest things about yourself and every of the speakers that comes over, and are obviously our UK guys that come over that are talking.
We have a good time, that's for sure.
We have a good time. We always have a good time at Sage, but the way the guests and the speakers interact, because it is a 4-day, and there are some tickets still available, a small amount of. So go to www.sageparacon.co.uk. There are some tickets available. If you're still umming and ahhing, just do it. You will not regret it. There are packages still available. There's some day tickets still available. So get over to that website. We're going to post all the links in the chat room. But you will have a good time, and you will be able to interact with the speakers pretty much like because it is such a close number of people. You get to experience speakers up close, so to speak. I know it sounds like all the speakers are like animals in a cage and you get and poke them, but that's not what I mean. But you get to experience them up close. You interact with them. You get to know them a lot. And one thing that I always remember John Zaffis saying when he came over was the questions he got asked on his talks, and some of the other speakers have said it as well, are so, like he said, in America, the guys say, oh, what was it like on this show, tell us a story about the show. Over here, the questions were more, right, going back to history, what do you believe in this, that, and the other? They're more in depth. They have a knowledge. I'm not saying the guys in America don't have a knowledge, but they obviously the TV stuff's great and everything like that, but they want to know about the speaker and how they think and everything like that. And I think that's what makes Sage Paracon so interesting and an amazing event, is you do get up close to the speakers. You get to know the speakers like Karen, and you'll know that Karen will love to dance. She'll be the first one on the dance floor.
Yes.
Even if there's no music, she'll be on.
God forbid I will be. That's true.
And yeah, exactly. You'll be there. And I think that is the good thing about it, because over the years the Sage tribe has become bigger and bigger, but it's also become closer and closer. These events are like meeting family every time you go. So the speakers, I include speakers in that, I include everybody. I've made so many friends through MJ, Sage Paracon, Sage, everything like that. It's amazing. So I can be part of that as well, because if you didn't know much about Karen, hopefully this show will give you a bit more information. But she is lovely. She's adorable, because she's so welcoming and she will talk to you. She will anything. So just get on the website, buy the last remaining tickets, and come and join us.
Oh, I want to say 100% yes. You guys, if you're on the fence, come on out. I mean, I remember I'm meeting some people that might have came for a day and they were so bummed they didn't come for 2 days, or didn't come for the whole event. And then I remember meeting somebody who just came the last day, and he's like, oh my God, you guys are so welcoming. And now he's like part of the tribe, and we're friends on Facebook and Twitter and social media. It's like, seriously, because it is intimate. We have all these events we do that MJ sets up. Come for the whole freaking 4 days. Seriously, you guys. Coombe is beautiful. The accommodations are fantastic.
I must admit, Coombe Abbey, MJ's had Sage Paracon at some unbelievable locations.
Yes.
I think Coombe Abbey is probably my favourite hotel, because you will not walk into a reception in any hotel that I've ever been to. I've been to a lot of hotels, but you will not experience the awe as you walk into the reception.
Oh, that's true.
It's just amazing.
It's beautiful. It has the history there. I'm so excited to come back to that place, because I just, even walking around the grounds there's so much great activity, you guys, and energy there. You can feel it, you sense it. And then when the investigation, we're going to experience it. But, the event, every single aspect of the event that's set up, that MJ set up for us, the different dinners, the celebrations, the times get together, it really helps craft and create this sense of family. And that is what sets her event off from the other events. Like I said, I go to a lot of different events and speak at them, and they're fun. And I'm not saying negative things. It's just that this one is extra special fun. Okay. Absolutely. And this is where I can let my hair down. I can have a good time with you guys. And like he said, because we are on a personal basis with everybody. Yeah. Yeah. That's the difference.
Yeah. The amount of comments you get, and it's so heartwarming, and I'm so pleased for MJ, and that's why I try and do as much as I can for the lady. Anything.
Oh, and you guys, Carl's huge. Carl is right there. You're her wingman or the right hand man. Well, I saw.
We have Duncan, her husband, who's amazing, but I'm a travel.
Duncan's great too, but I saw how much you work, Carl.
And I would do. I would work whatever I could possibly do for the lady, because the way she put so much effort, crafts the event, and make sure people have such a good time. And it's it's like Sunday, we call it, is MJ Cry Day, because the feedback she gets from the people. I can remember last year there was somebody that just came for one day, had such a good time, would literally walk up to MJ and then booked for the rest of the weekend.
Oh yeah,
because she was blown away of the family atmosphere, and I think that is the main key about Sage Paracon. It is like a family. The speakers are amazing. I would never have thought in the years of being in the paranormal that I would have friends that I count as good friends, yourself, Jeff Belanger, and all these other amazing people that have come over and spoke, that I'm like blown away. It's like sometimes at the bar, I did it last year. I was stood at the bar and I had Chris Fleming one side of me, Aaron Sagers, Richard Eastep, yourself, and I'm just thinking, what happened? What happened? But it is amazing. It is amazing, and hat off to MJ. She works her socks off, and it is becoming bigger and bigger, and it's an amazing. So go and get those tickets, everybody that's in the chat room. Go there. You've got to be there. You'll speak to the amazing Karen and all the other amazing speakers. And MJ announces a little bit of a snapshot for next year, because there will be next year as well, and next year is going to be amazing. But it's all about this year. We're on the run-up to this year. And this hour's flown past, Karen, and it always does.
Oh, my gosh, you're right. We've already hit it out.
I was saying this the other night. Once the conversation flows, the hour just flows. I just personally, because I better wrap this up or I'll get told off. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, Carl, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being one of the Sage Paracon speakers, guests on the show on the run up to Sage Paracon. We will be interviewing you again during the weekend, but it will be more light-hearted, and it'll be on a one-to-one basis with Sam and myself and a few of the other people there. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Very welcome.
Thank you to everybody out there that's listened to the show, everybody that's interacted in the chat room, because I'm sorry I couldn't get into the chat room, and thanks everybody for sending stuff to me. The interaction in the chat room makes the shows as well, because you start your own little conversations, and that's good because it's building up the show, it's building up the excitement, and everybody is excited about Sage Paracon. It's going to be amazing. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. Tickets are available, www.sageparacon.co.uk. And that's the show for tonight. We will be back next Thursday. And my co-host Sam will be back then. Big up to Sam as well. And thanks everybody for listening. And I don't normally do the wrap up of the show, so I do apologise if I get some of this information slightly back to front. But yeah, tomorrow night, 9:00, we have the light-hearted look at the paranormal in the Dark Mirror show with myself, Mark, and Kerry, looking at all the trending subjects in the paranormal world. And one of the things I'll be talking about is obviously what Karen's just been talking about, and that's the huge Ouija board that was put up in Salem. So we'll be discussing that in a little bit more detail tomorrow. So once again, thank you, Karen. And thank you
very much. Thank you.
No problem. And we will see you next week. Thank you for joining us. And remember, go over, like, share, and subscribe. Kerry does it better, but thanks very much. Good night.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.